Some games are fun for a while, some are good enough to just finish. And then there are the ones that completely take over. That's what this list is about. Not just popular games, not just games with big review scores, but the ones that actually feel like 10 out of 10 experiences when you play them. These are 30 of the best games you must play. Being a Jedi in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sounds great right up until you realize most of the galaxy wants you dead. The game throws you in as Cal Kestis, a former Padawan keeping his head down until, obviously, that stops. Early on, it's a lot of scrambling, climbing, and trying not to get folded by things much bigger than you. Then the lightsaber combat starts to come together. Parrying feels sharper, force powers open up, and suddenly you're not just surviving fights, you're taking control of them. One of the best parts is how often the setting switches on you. Ancient ruins give way to wreckage, creatures, or stormtrooper-controlled territory before things can go stale. It just nails that Jedi fantasy without making you overpowered from the start.
That's who we are.
Shipwrecked and hunted, Tomb Raider throws Lara into a fight to survive from the very beginning. You're climbing unstable cliffs, squeezing through tight spaces, and pushing through areas that constantly feel like they could collapse at any moment. Combat starts off rough, then gradually opens up as you gain access to bows, guns, and tools that change how you handle encounters. The island is tightly connected, making it easy to move between areas without losing track of where you are. Everything flows into the next moment, rarely giving you time to fully relax. It's a reboot that focuses on Lara's early struggles while keeping the experience focused and intense the whole way through. Three games, one continuous storyline. Mass Effect follows a crew traveling across the galaxy, dealing with threats that grow bigger with each chapter. It starts small, but quickly expands into something much larger in scale. What makes it work is the people around you. Your squad isn't just there for missions. They have their own personalities, conversations, and moments that unfold as you spend time with them. You move between planets, take on assignments, and get pulled into situations that connect over time. The world feels consistent across all three games, with familiar faces and locations returning in new ways. By the end of the game, the story reflects your decisions in a way that feels personal to your playthrough. Next up, we got Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. This game does not care how good you think you are at action games. First few hours are basically the game smacking your hands away and telling you to stop playing like it's Dark Souls. Dodging too much gets you killed. Hesitating gets you killed. Panic gets you killed even faster. Then, little by little, it starts making sense. You stop backing off, start meeting attacks head-on, and suddenly those sword fights turn into full-on clashes instead of desperate scrambling. That's when Sekiro becomes incredible. And of course, the bosses are a huge part of it. Guardian Ape, Ishin, these are the kind of fights people remember because the game forces you to actually learn them. And once it gets under your skin, there's nothing else quite like it. Bayek's journey in Assassin's Creed Origins takes you across a version of Egypt that feels grounded, from open deserts to dense cities along the Nile. His story starts on a personal note, but gradually pulls you into something much larger as you move between regions. Traveling between locations isn't just filler. You come across side stories, smaller conflicts, and moments that give each area its own identity. You're free to handle things your own way, whether that means taking your time or pushing forward. Combat is more direct than earlier entries with a focus on timing, positioning, and equipment. It's a game that rewards slowing down, taking detours, and seeing what's waiting just outside your main objective.
He grabbed you for a reason.
Resident Evil Requiem became the fastest-selling game in the series for a reason. The game wastes no time making you feel uncomfortable. You're checking corners, listening for sounds you really didn't want to hear, and walking into rooms that already feel like a mistake before anything even happens. That's where a lot of the tension comes from. Not just the monsters, but the hesitation. The part where you stop for a second, wonder if you've got enough ammo, then go in anyway because there's no other choice. Grace brings more of that panic-heavy survival horror energy, while Leon adds a sharper edge once things start getting uglier. It's grim, nasty, and very good at making simple actions feel way more stressful than they should.
You okay?
You are a samurai.
Next up, we got Ghost of Tsushima. You're moving across an island during a Mongol invasion, shifting between quiet stretches of travel and sudden, precise combat. Fights are built around timing. Duels slow everything down, forcing you to read your opponent, while larger encounters push you to manage multiple enemies without losing control. Exploration relies more on the world itself than on constant markers, guiding you through movement and visual cues instead of menus. Side stories are spread across the island, giving more context to the people caught in the conflict. It's a game that feels deliberate in how it handles both combat and movement, making each encounter and journey across the island feel intentional. The 2023 remake of Dead Space takes the original and rebuilds it with far more detail, making the Ishimura feel even more unsettling than before. Corridors are darker, sound design is sharper, and everything around you feels more alive in the worst possible way. Combat still revolves around precision. You're cutting enemies apart piece by piece, managing limited ammo, and reacting quickly when things go wrong. The ship connects more seamlessly now, which makes moving through it feel continuous rather than broken into sections. There's almost no sense of safety, even in quieter moments. Every section feels like a test of control, where one mistake can turn a manageable situation into something much harder to recover from.
Everything can change in an instant.
Stepping out of the vault in Fallout 4 drops you into a wasteland that doesn't wait for you to figure things out. You're free to head in any direction, picking up weapons, exploring ruined areas, and dealing with whatever shows up along the way. Gunfights can break out at any time, but just as often you're scavenging buildings, collecting resources, and deciding what's worth carrying. The settlement system adds another layer, letting you build and manage locations across the map. Quests are spread everywhere, often pulling you into situations you didn't plan for. It's the kind of game where your time is split between exploring, fighting, and slowly building something of your own in the middle of it all.
Let's go, boy.
Cheer up, crew cut.
With Devil May Cry 5, it really does take about 5 minutes to understand the assignment. This is not a game asking for discipline or restraint. It wants style, noise, confidence, and the kind of combat where killing the enemy is only half the job. The other half is making it look stupid. That's why the 3 characters matter so much. Nero feels direct and aggressive. Dante is basically an entire combat system by himself. And V changes the mood completely by standing back and turning fights into something weirder. The more comfortable you get, the better the game becomes. Combos are longer, weapon switches get smoother, and suddenly a fight that looked like total nonsense starts flowing exactly how you want it. That's the real appeal of Devil May Cry 5. It gives you all this room to improve, then makes that improvement look cool as hell. Next game is Dishonored. You get a target, a mask, and a city that absolutely does not care how you handle things. You can creep through it like a ghost, never seen, never heard, or mess it up halfway, and suddenly you're sprinting across rooftops while guards lose their minds behind you. The fun is in how loose it all feels. One minute you're peeking through a keyhole, the next you've found a back entrance that skips half the level. And then you realize there was another way in the whole time. Powers help, but they also tempt you. Blink here, possess that, maybe try something stupid just to see if it works. You don't really follow a plan in Dishonored. You just come up with one, ruin it, and somehow still pull it off anyway.
Your unique situation.
Hogwarts Legacy knows exactly what people came for. Not the giant plot, not the big final threat, just the chance to finally walk into Hogwarts and poke around like you actually belong there. And to be fair, the game gets a lot out of that. Early hours are basically a fantasy field trip. You're learning spells, sneaking into places you probably shouldn't be, opening doors that lead to even more doors, and getting distracted by the castle every 5 minutes. That's the part that really sells it. Hogwarts isn't just a setting, it's the whole event. Staircases shifting, portraits talking, little secrets tucked into corners, and ghosts acting like they pay rent there. Once you leave the castle, it still stays fun. But Hogwarts is the thing people came for, and the game absolutely understands that.
My legacy in your hands. Working solo anyway.
Afghanistan in Metal Gear Solid 5 is all dust, silence, and outposts sitting in the distance like they're daring you to try something. And usually, you do. You crawl up a hill, mark half the base, start thinking through angles, patrol routes, exits, then spend the next few minutes trying to make that plan hold together. That's where the game lives. Not in cutscenes, not in spectacle, but in those missions where you slowly pick a place apart. One guard goes down, then a light, then a vehicle, and suddenly the whole base feels different because of what you decided to do. It lets you approach a mission however you want, then reacts when that approach starts to fall apart. That's where a lot of the fun comes from.
Your lives will be forever.
Hong Kong does a lot for sleeping dogs. The neon streets, night markets, apartment blocks, and back alleys give the whole game its own identity before you even throw a punch. You play as Wei Shen, an undercover cop stuck between doing his job and getting pulled deeper into the triad world he's supposed to be taking down. That split gives the whole thing more edge than you expect. One mission has you singing karaoke or helping out at a wedding, the next you're cracking skulls in a back alley or trying not to blow your cover. And the hand-to-hand combat really is the hook. Counters, grabs, environmental attacks. Half the fun is spotting something nearby and immediately thinking, yeah, that guy's going into it. It's stylish, mean, and way more memorable than people give it credit for. Next up, we got Alan Wake 2. This game is uncomfortable in a way a lot of horror games wish they were. You're walking through forests, empty buildings, flooded hallways, and every space feels like it's hiding something even before anything actually happens. Saga's side starts like an investigation, but the deeper it goes, the less anything feels normal. Alan's sections are even stranger, like the world is being rewritten while you're still inside it. That's the part the game really nails. It doesn't just throw scares at you. It messes with your sense of space, timing, and what's actually real. By the time it properly gets its hooks in, you're not relaxing anymore. You're just bracing for whatever ugly thing comes next. God of War does something really smart with Kratos. Instead of trying to make him bigger and louder again, it slows him down and gives him something harder to deal with than monsters: being a father. He's still brutal, still capable of tearing through anything in front of him, but now every fight sits next to a conversation with Atreus that matters just as much. The Leviathan Axe is one of the reasons the combat feels so good. Throwing it, freezing an enemy, then calling it back straight into your hand never gets old. The journey itself just keeps building. Bigger fights, stranger places, more gods, more tension. But it always comes back to those two trying to understand each other.
Can you kill something that big?
Hitman World of Assassination brings together all three modern Hitman games, which means you're not just getting one great sandbox, you're getting a full set of them. Paris, Miami, Dartmoor, Berlin. Every location feels like its own little machine, full of routines, disguises, shortcuts, and opportunities waiting for you to notice them. You walk in looking harmless, start reading the room, and slowly realize how much you can actually get away with. You can set things up carefully, improvise when the plan breaks, or pull off something so dumb it somehow still works. And because there are so many missions across the trilogy, it never really runs out of ways to surprise you.
You a Witcher.
Now for The Witcher 3. You start in White Orchard and it almost feels calm. Muddy roads, little farms, guards talking nonsense, villagers with problems, and Geralt just out there doing contract work like it's a normal way to live. A missing person here, a haunted well there, somebody crying about a monster in the woods, standard Witcher business. Then the game keeps stretching outward without ever losing that feeling. The stakes get bigger, the places get harsher, and suddenly every stop has its own disaster waiting for you. That's why it stays with people. It doesn't just give you quests, it gives you a world full of problems and makes you want to walk straight into all of them.
It's just the beginning.
Returnal starts mean and stays mean. You crash, wake up, grab a gun, push a little further than last time, and then some glowing alien horror turns you into dust and sends you right back to the start. Your first reaction is usually, alright, this is bullshit. Then 2 runs later, you're fully locked in and telling yourself one more try. That's the trap. Once it settles into your hands, you stop fighting the game and start chasing cleaner runs. Dash through a wall of bullets, clear a room by the skin of your teeth, pick up something that actually helps for once, keep going. The planet itself is just wrong. Rain, static, broken ruins, and things moving in the distance that absolutely should not be moving. It can be unforgiving as hell, but when a run comes together, it's worth it.
I think we're gonna literally make out like men.
Los Santos is there for you to use however you want in Grand Theft Auto 5. You can jump straight into missions, switch between characters, or just head in a direction and see what happens. Playing as Michael, Franklin, and Trevor gives you 3 different perspectives, each tied to their own part of the story and the city. Heists are where everything comes together, turning preparation into larger jobs that play out in stages. Outside of that, there's plenty to do without following anything specific, whether it's driving across the map, flying, or getting into trouble for no reason. Most of the experience comes from those moments where you stop following the main story and just start doing your own stuff. Next up, we got Lies of P. The first thing this game gets right is the mood. Krat looks like the kind of city where even the streetlights seem tired. And once the puppets start coming at you, that feeling only gets worse. It's grim without overdoing it, which helps a lot. Then the fights start, and the game makes it very clear you need to be sharp. You can't just swing wildly and hope for the best. Timing matters, blocking matters, and bosses are more than happy to ruin your night if you get careless. The lying system and weapon combinations give it its own flavor too, so it never feels like it's just borrowing from somewhere else. And once all of that starts coming together, it's very easy to see why so many people rate it as one of the best Souls-likes out there.
Please.
Next up, we got Skyrim, where you load in, escape a dragon attack, and within minutes, the game just lets go of your hand completely. You're standing there thinking you'll follow the main quest, and then you spot a cave, a tower, or some random guy asking for help. And that's your next few hours gone. Early on, it's simple stuff. Clearing out bandits, poking around ruins, figuring out what works. Then it starts stacking. You join a guild, pick up another quest, get distracted again, and suddenly your map is a mess. It has that same pull where you just wander and things keep happening. No big setup, no pressure. You just move, explore, and let it build into something bigger without even noticing how deep you've gone.
Make every shot.
The Last of Us feels personal in a way a lot of big games don't. It's not trying to overwhelm you every second. A lot of the time, it's just Joel and Ellie moving through wrecked buildings, searching drawers, listening to each other, and dealing with whatever's waiting in the next room. That slow build is a huge part of why it lands. You spend enough time with them that the relationship starts doing most of the work on its own. A line of dialogue, a look, a bit of silence, it all matters. Then when things turn violent, they get ugly, fast. Fights are short, tense, and never feel under control for long. What carries the game isn't the outbreak. It's those two and everything that changes between them.
I reckon it's got something to do with that girl.
Next up, we got Cyberpunk 2077. Night City is dense, noisy, and packed with detail, where something can catch your attention no matter where you go. It's the kind of place where just walking around can turn into its own experience. You're moving through districts that all feel different, from corporate zones to crowded back alleys, each with their own atmosphere and characters. Missions range from small side jobs to larger story moments, often pulling you deeper into the city without much warning. There's a strong focus on style, too, from the way you build your character to how you approach situations. Spend enough time in Night City, and it starts to feel less like a map and more like a place you're just existing in. Horizon Zero Dawn has one of those setups that sounds ridiculous until you actually see it in motion. Tribal villages, ancient ruins, snow-covered mountains, and giant machines wandering around like they own the place. Somehow it all fits. Aloy stops the whole thing from feeling distant. As she starts connecting the dots, the world gets more interesting instead of more confusing. Then you get into a real machine fight, and that's when the game properly shows off. You're scanning weak points, setting traps, knocking parts off, and trying not to get flattened while doing it. It's not just shooting at robots. There's actual thought behind every fight. It's that balance between uncovering the world and surviving it that keeps you locked in.
Nothing means more to me than this game.
Everything in Red Dead Redemption 2 is built with an unusual level of detail, from the way characters move to how the world reacts around you. You're following Arthur Morgan through a story that unfolds slowly, but never feels empty, because there's always something happening in the background. Gunfights carry weight, conversations feel natural, and even small interactions add to the experience. The world isn't just there to fill space. You can interact with it in ways that most games don't even attempt. Missions range from quiet moments to large set pieces, but they all feel connected to the people you're traveling with. It's not just about what you do, but how everything around you responds to it. Not a lot of games feel this complete from start to finish.
Can I help?
Death Stranding builds an entire experience around walking from one place to another. You're crossing rough terrain while carrying cargo that can shift, fall, or get damaged if you're not paying attention. Every route becomes a small decision. Do you take the safer path or risk a shortcut? Do you push forward or stop and prepare? The world feels quiet, but there's always something slightly off. Weather changes, unseen threats, and long stretches of silence create a strange kind of tension. Other players leave behind tools that can completely change how you approach a journey. It's slow by design, turning simple movement into something that requires focus, patience, and careful planning.
This is too...
When you boot up Spider-Man, the first thing you want to do is ignore the objective and just swing. Not because the story's bad, quite the opposite, but because getting around Manhattan is extremely fun. You build speed, skim past rooftops, and cut through traffic. Half the time, the city itself is the reason you stay locked in. Then the fights kick in and they've got that same energy. Web a guy to a wall, launch another into the air, throw a gadget, dodge at the last second, and somehow survive the whole mess without touching the ground for more than 2 seconds. And underneath all of it, Peter Parker actually feels like Peter Parker, which matters more than you'd think.
I must finish what I started.
Baldur's Gate 3 is the kind of RPG where one conversation can solve a problem, start a disaster, or end with somebody getting launched off a cliff because you picked the funniest option. That's one of the main reasons why people got so obsessed with it. The game keeps giving you situations that look straightforward for about 3 seconds. Then suddenly, you realize there are 10 different ways this could go. You can talk your way out, sneak past the problem, or make things much worse and deal with the consequences later. The world keeps reacting, which is what makes it so easy to get pulled in. Then hours disappear. One quest becomes 3, 3 becomes 8, and now it's somehow 2 a.m. Stellar Blade looks cool immediately, but it really starts earning your attention once the fights stop being easy. Early on, you can get away with a little button mashing, feel good about yourself, maybe even think you've got it figured out. Then, the game throws something serious at you, and suddenly every bad habit gets exposed. That's when it starts getting fun. Parries need to be clean, dodges need to be late enough to matter, and getting greedy ends with you eating half your health bar for no reason. You start reading enemies more carefully, waiting for openings, and treating every fight with a bit more respect. The ruined world helps too. Desert stretches, broken cities, underground labs, all of it looks like something bad already happened there. It's stylish, sure, but it's the combat that keeps you there. Some of these games are all-time classics. Some are newer, but every single one earns its place. If I missed one you think belongs here, drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around for the next one.